çekersen gitmeden. Ondan sonra şey yaparız. Birazdan başlayalım. Hello everyone. Thank you. This is my second time. A couple of months ago, I attended the first event. It's a shame that I never had a chance to attend. I think there's an equivalent event in Oxford, and I never had a chance to attend this one. Hopefully, we will be organizing more Oxford Cambridge events in the upcoming days. I'm saying this because I started my PhD at Oxford Computer Science in 2010, and we had a tradition to organize co-events with Cambridge in the context of natural language processing, the topic that I did my PhD in. So I have multiple hats, but today I just want to talk about a recent project that we started, and I will, as much as I can, will make it more practical. I will show a demonstration at the very end. At Pembroke College, I'm working with historians and lawyers on a quite interesting project called Quill Project. We're trying to apply AI on constitutional documents. Here I'm teaching AI literacy. I supervise more than 30 dissertations on several topics on generative AI, including emotion recognition, multimodality, multilingualism. Claudia is a premium AWS partner globally, and I'm leading the AI team over there. I did my PhD 8 years ago. We have a spin-off company licensed with the Oxford University Innovation. And last summer, in 2025, we started Trade Comply. I've been studying on use cases in generative AI and finance for a long while. And finally, we started on a specific one to automate the procedures in international trade. And now we have a product out of this. It was seed funded, and I will make a demonstration on this. You don't need to be an expert in international trade. I will just explain in a quick way the basics. There's a huge problem, as you might assume. So this is a total volume for compliance spending globally, and amount of fines for AML sanctions and violations. Before this, that's a very simple presentation, but the concepts are important. Only for this purpose, to automate the processing of manual processing of letter of credit documents, there are dedicated teams at different scales at different banks, and it takes days for these people to process these documents. I will be showing an example document in a moment. This is a Swift message. This message declares, it's like a constitution, it declares the details of the trade, the rules between two parties, and experts in these banks needs to understand this message and then check a series of documents manually. The documents that I'm talking about is documents like this. So this is a randomly selected document. It's a trade between a company based in Saudi Arabia trading some chemical products to another company in Istanbul, Turkey. Okay, that's the reason why it's a mixture of some Arabic expressions, some logos, some text, semi-structured information. Okay, stamps, signatures, and in the ideal case, at least two experts are reviewing these documents line by line to check if this document is complying with the Swift message that I just showed, and also the international rules, like UCP 600. This is an example of UCP. This is the UCP 600 document, actually. This is a sixth revision since 1933. So it's going on. This kind of international rules are being applied for a long while. And let me show you a few constraints, like rules, such as this is a rule. This is one of the more than 30 rules. Again, this is like the Constitution, and it says that a document may be signed by handwriting, facsimile signature, blah, blah, some other rules. And experts need to be aware of this documentation, this Swift document, and using this knowledge, they need to manually check or verify, approve that kind of authentic documents. This is an authentic document, okay? So in the ideal case, we needed to develop a system that can, in an unsupervised way, with no information coming, from the company that is issuing this document. We need to understand if, there's a signature over a stamp, so we need to separate them. We need to understand this table, the information in the table, character by character, with, in the ideal case, 100% accuracy at the first layer. And then using this information, we need to take some actions. This is the second document. It lists the item being traded, and we need to understand these metrics, specific names, and all these details. So question, what would be the ideal way to design a system that can understand hundreds of documents like this to assist, not replace, the expert teams at banks? What technology would you offer or suggest? Yes, please.
LLMs.
Perfect, yes, bingo, LLMs, but one or multiple, and open source, commercial, on-premise, cloud. Any more details?
Probably we can stick to the open source models. And
Okay.
So text-based models and also a vision-based model, because you have those logos
Excellent.
which need to be extracted, and maybe some language specific, because you have two languages going on here.
Yes, yes.
And yeah.
Excellent. We're going perfect, yes. Any more comments? Yeah.
Like this thing, there's some standards built there. So that may be not available open source. They may need some technical documentation. So we must put that reference also.
Okay.
So then that this specification should match with that standard. If standard is not matched,
Mhm.
then specification is wrong.
Yeah, so you're saying
There will be a language model.
Mhm.
They may be not open source because this is paid standard.
okay, there's a constraint then. If it's not open source, like in some countries, especially in these two countries, you can't disclose any information to cloud.
Yeah.
So they should run on-premise. Okay, so this you need to, I'm not saying that everything should be open source, it can be maybe in the ideal case a mixture of OCR, like classical methods, traditional machine learning methods, and definitely LLMs, as you suggested. And also maybe some other techniques like more image processing, and sorry?
Text matching.
Exactly, text matching. So just to say again, we are not aware of this information in database. And as you mentioned kindly, so multilingualism is another problem, because if, let's assume there are 200 countries in the world, there can be any trade between these countries. So these documents can be in any language, and also we need to detect any symbols, so on and so forth. Okay. There are some academic work on this, by the way. Using my academic hat, I did some research on this. People are trying to solve the same problem as we're trying to do. This is just like a traditional flow of letter of credit transaction. So there are two parties, importer, exporter. There's a contract between them. And then the next step is importer is applying to issuing bank. Issuing bank is sending this message to the other bank in the other country. Okay, so these importer and exporter are obviously in separate countries. I just wanted to check, this is a very important document. We need to give our solution. I'm not saying it's only an LLM, it can be a mixture of a hybrid solution. All these details. So this document is under UCP latest version, the one that I just showed you. There are some details like date and place of expiry, beneficiary applicant, the currency, and partial shipments. This is very important as well. It's making the problem more challenging. In some cases, the shipment shouldn't visit several countries in the world. So we should be aware of this as well. Again, we we just designed a solution for this. I will be showing you, it to you in a moment. And in the following research paper of this one, obviously they offered a solution saying that they can implement a pipeline in the middle, and all these transactions can be relying on this solution at the center. Okay? And then they are proposing this hybrid human-in-loop AI integration. So there are central bank conditions, country-specific laws, past cases, AI checker, and then if there are, they're integrating all these. If there are discrepancies, some expert human checkers are finalizing this decision, and then it's continuing again. So what we've done is we didn't want to, again, on purpose, we never aim to replace the experts, but there's a problem, like the young generation are not that fancy with that kind of jobs. So it takes like at least 3-4 years for someone to be at a level, at least like at the minimum bare level, like to deal with these documents. So last summer with a small team, we started to develop this solution. So let me. So I will be selecting the Swift example, the exact document that I showed to you. And then I will be adding the other documents. Normally, in normal case, there's uploading these documents as a bundle. This brings another challenge. So when I hit the button, in the ideal case, it will do the classification. And if I upload a bundle, it also needs to segment these documents as well. So the classification is the first step. And then we need to extract all the key information from documents like this. Again, this document, third document, certificate of origin, as a template, as you can see, is slightly different than the others. So there's no standard of these documents. Like it can be in Portuguese, Korean, I don't know, so multilinguality matters a lot if you want to propose a solution which scales up. And we extract the information, verify, but verifying one document is not enough. We need to also do cross-verification. If we extract some information from a specific document, this should comply with the same type of information in the other documents as well. And I've been working on NLP for 20 years, and there is like one or a few specific topics like paraphrase expressions, like dealing with abbreviations, numerical expressions, dates, temporal expressions, financial expressions. And these documents are filled full of this information, so we need to deal with that type of paraphrases as well. And finally, it generates a verification report. Yep, and in a moment, cross-check is happening. All the solutions that is running behind the scene is running on premise. It is just like for demonstration purposes, we have this front end. Give me 10 seconds. Yeah. Meanwhile, I will be showing the other type of documents as well. So this is a document on cargo insurance certificate. We don't know this company. We have no idea of this template or the information in different fonts. Okay, we need to detect this properly and the signature as well. It's running, it takes some time for the cross-check validation. Another one, original bill of lading, too many information. And even these pages are problems as well, like they're bringing some problems. And another one, the cross-validation is we're creating all the combinations of different documents. So if we have 100 documents, you can compute what would be the complexity of the total calculation, and it's done. Thank you. So, cheers. I will get the applause at the very end. So we have several outcomes. So this is a report. So we, after the first iterations, we started to categorize the issues. The first issues are document validation issues. So 2 out of 6 documents successfully passed. And in the remainings, like obviously we need to give the reasons. This is yet another problem to make it transparent. Okay. So it shows the document and details of the issue, and it's also like referring to the context, like why we're having a problem with the signature, seal, or imprint, or why like the second problem is lacking a signature. The third problem is showing no evidence of being signed, blah, blah. These are similar, and we have the other, like the more detailed reasons. The second one is compliance. So according to field 31D, letter of credit expired prior to presentation, and some other details. Cross-check report. These are the problems, like inconsistencies between documents. And we also like decided to show at least this system can detect something true. So like we have this system is detecting, oh, sorry. Yeah. Think. Maybe I can continue. At least like we showed that it can, like these are the correct information that we're detecting properly. This is also like, because when we do demonstrations of this solution, like if you don't show this, people are like seeing it like, what is this system is catching in practice, and these are the information that we detect. So as far as we know, like there is no existing solution like working similar to this. And now I wanted to also like show you some open problems that we need to solve in the upcoming sprint plannings. So yes, it's working properly, but still, if like the UCP is not changing that frequent, but the other context is changing frequent. So this is like an important issue for us. For regulatory change tracking, our RAG system or RAG systems should be aware of this. Evaluation is very important. So we are now upgrading our systematic evaluation system. So you can detect all the information in these documents properly, like I'm talking about the OCR or the recognition of tables, stamps, and other details. But still, like, so that's one type of evaluation, like the character level evaluation, maybe table level evaluation is multi-layered. And also you need to, so we're applying the general like benchmarking metrics, like to do this. How many information exists in this document, and we're just applying like the usual accuracy F1 measures like to detect this. And then the second layer is document level evaluation and the whole case level evaluation as well. So if you're dealing with a bank is like an average bank is dealing with around a few thousand cases yearly. So we need to like have enough number of cases like this to have a deep understanding of how this system is performing. Out of 10, the challenge of this specific set of documents to process is 4. So it's not a challenging case. Like there are more challenging cases, like you need to do more and more verifications. And like for this reason, like everyone is asking like if the system is working with 100% accuracy. Yes, if you're talking about character recognition, but no, if you're talking about the evaluation of the whole case. Another thing is multimodality. As I said, like these documents are consisting of not only text, but also like information in other modalities. So we need to be aware of this. Explainability and trust. Like it needs to be informative, and it should learn case by case in the ideal case. And this is yet another thing that we're working on. I hope it's clear. hopefully, like this system is being piloted by multiple financial institutions at the moment. It's really challenging, like to get into. Even if the whole system is running on premise, in a financial institutions, like there are at least 3 different groups that are doing the due diligence for that kind of a process, like on security one, quality assurance, and also like AI teams are like just checking. Finally, like all of our meetings have gone successful. So like we passed all these stages, and again, like we're trying to like I think the potential for this product is the global scale. So we never designed it for a specific country or for laws in a specific country. So it's designed in a universal way, and it's quite easy to expand to other legislations, like other countries and other type of documents as well. 13 years ago, I was working at an company, and I built the R&D team there, and we were using another OCR solution. Like it was an open source OCR solution. After 13, 14 years, we're still using the same solution. It's working okay, but the whole maybe it's still like less than 5-10% of the whole pipeline. So we just added many multi-rack, multi-agent system, like with long memory and reasoning ability. So the traditional methods are not gone; they're still part of our solution. But I would say the open source VLMs and LLMs, like a multi-model architecture, is about to be disrupt this like specific sector or units in financial institutions. So that's what I can say. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Yes, please.
I'm curious. I mean, basically, lots of this is entity extraction, right? Because you're extracting lots of entities and trying to compare them across the document.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm curious as to whether you've looked into things like knowledge graphs, or whether the LLMs can model it effectively. And my example that popped out for me was lots of those documents are saying like any port in Saudi Arabia, and then there was one which said a very specific port, which was presumably like where it's actually going to turn up. Mm-hmm. But that didn't say it was in Saudi Arabia. So do you have like a knowledge graph that you've got for that, or do your models figure out that
we do have,
that complies with those things?
Yeah, we do have knowledge graphs in the pipeline. I have some more comments on entity extraction, actually. So we're proposing a hybrid approach. I was, like from 2010 to 2017, I was mostly, like, first I was using conventional methods, traditional methods to extract entities, all different types, all on multiple languages. At the first part, like I was using classical, and like between 2013 till 2017, I was using mostly deep learning-based approaches. We're still using them, by the way. In representing them, yes, we're using knowledge graphs. And then we started the company in 2017. This was the year that Attention is All You Need paper was published, fortunately or unfortunately. So we needed to adopt all the approach, the pipeline accordingly. But still, I have to say that the performance of LLMs in entity extraction are not top. So you can't rely on just them. So like like some of the conventional, such as Stanford parsers for rich resource languages, are still performing quite good. Also, like in resolving the coreferences and specific type of expressions like datas, abbreviations, paraphrases, they're still performing at the level of LLMs, I would say. Maybe LLMs are using them as a tool as well, so this is yet another solution, but I still rely on not just one unique type of solution. Thank you. Another one? Yeah. Yep. Yes.
You say you're using locally hosted language models for some of this. Are you using straight downloaded ones? Are you sort of fine-tuning your own? Have you pre-trained the model? Is it sort of level of open?
That's a good question. Maybe I can't give the name, but like you can easily assume which like open languages we're using for OCR maybe. And so that's in our roadmap, but so far we didn't need to fine-tune them or like train them from scratch so far. But it's in our roadmap as well. And I would say, maybe I can give the region, like the models coming from, like, as you know, mostly China are performing quite good. Like, maybe we can have a chat after the talk. So, like OCR, like at the OCR scale, I'm really quite surprised. Like, I used all different types of OCR solutions in the past 15 years, and now we don't have any problem, like even in languages other than English. So, fine-tuning maybe like we might need fine-tuning maybe for some, how to say, some languages, but we are not at this level as well. So the documents that we are dealing with is mostly like English. We're just like for experimental cases, sometimes we had to generate synthetic data as well. It's not easy to get this type of data from banks. Even just for this purpose, we developed a separate anonymizer. We shared these with financial institutions, just saying them like, anonymize all your data and share it with us. This didn't go well, so but it's okay. Like the few-shot learning of these LLMs are quite good, I would say. Yes, please.
I actually have two questions. First is what I haven't seen. Are you converting unstructured data to structured data and then evaluate, or you are evaluating directly from the documents as an unstructured data?
We are evaluating the performance of structuring this unstructured data first, like such as this is a unit, this is a semi-structured unit, this is an unstructured unit. So given this type of document, at the very basic level, we first detect all these characters and we evaluate, like we have some ground truth. So we're quite aware of potential biases in doing these evaluations. Like token by token, like we have several ground truth, like and we're building it continuously. At the very first level, we check if these like tokens are being recognized correctly, and then in the next level, like we just gear up and like we detect how many tables in the document there are and what is the accuracy of detecting these kind of objects. So this is sort of like structuring the unstructured part or semi-structured part. And then there are more upper layer evaluations as well, such as if you're talking about a commercial of product like this, if it's comply with the international standards, if there's a standard on this, addresses, like even there, if there's any, so the thing is like these banks, the teams in these banks are super under pressure because if they make a simple mistake, and they are doing these simple mistakes, like it's a loss of reputation and there's quite lots of financial amount. So we do all these type of checks, such as this is like a phone number. I'm not sure if there are organizations still using fax, but still we need to detect this as it is. And just consider this, like we're not using any specific solution for Saudi Arabia. There are some APIs such as for port checking, like we need to validate there's a shipment, how many ports are being used, like as part of this trade type of thing. So for that, like for that case, we use the APIs, but we just downloaded all this data to our local so that we shouldn't need to any cloud solution. And as I said, it's just like one or a few, or just two, three, a few layered evaluation. So evaluation is the key part of this. We have multiple conversations, and I'm very like self-confident when it has come to like what is the accuracy of this solution. I'm very confident to answer this question because like I easily started to tell as a lecturer like what it means like evaluating these type of solutions, like at what level, like at the character level, the whole document, multiple documents, or like multiple use cases. So that's the way that we're proposing. You said you have another question?
Yes. Okay, last question, please. Otherwise, we.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Get the time. Yeah, last question.
So how expensive in terms of token consumption?
That's a very good question as well. Compared to the total loss that financial institutions can lose, it is like is pretty financially sustainable. But in parallel, we're also working on token optimization as well. I'm not sure if there's anyone working on token optimization, so that's also something we deal with. Maybe because of the nature of this industry, like it's not a big concern so far. Okay, if you have any questions, maybe we can follow up after the event. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Sorry, are you? Go for it.
Just one quick check. Is Carolina Braga here? I think we have a missing speaker, so just to check, okay, she hasn't arrived. So probably you can run for a little longer if you want.
I can always run for longer.
Oh, really?
Guys, please, seriously, I do talk, so shut me up if I'm talking too much, okay?
Yeah, so I'm going to present Jason Holloway. He's one of our regular attendees, right?
I am.
And he's going to do a talk, more theoretical talk on AI security from his company. So let you go. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry, for those of you expecting to see demos and hands-on security attacks and so forth, that's not happening today. But I'll explain why in a moment. A quick word about myself first, if I may. Obviously, I'm Jason Holloway. My background is, well, first started out as a programmer, on Unix systems many years ago. Then I moved into information security, and I've been doing that for over 30 years now. I've worked for a number of different security vendors in that space, and 15 years ago, I set up my own business in that space. Led to a successful exit via merger. And I've been very fortunate over that period of time of always working with innovations in information security and other cutting edge technology. Innovation is in my bloodstream. And that's why I'm setting up another company, QR Security, to look at very much what I think is the leading edge now in AI, which is how to demonstrate AI security. I should mention, as a word of warning, that I am a BSI-trained ISO 27001 lead auditor, but I won't be talking about that unless you really force me to. So, the reason why I think we need to talk about the why, the what, the how of demonstrating AI security is that we have reached an inflection point. Before, and I'm only going back a few months, the questions around AI were very much, are you using AI? How are you using AI? And what's your AI roadmap looking like? But the questions have changed. Now it's all about how are you securing AI? And how can you prove that you are securing AI? And this is a very, very different marketplace that we're now working within. And fundamentally, the reason why is that the AI risks are different. They're not just the traditional InfoSec issues that we've seen before. They are still those, unfortunately, but we now have some new ones as well. And I'm not the first one to point this out. For the last 3 and a bit years, OWASP has been talking about this, and I do recommend reading these as they are very easy to understand and make a lot of sense. But these aren't obscure edge cases, as I said, prompt injection, training data poisoning, sensitive information disclosure, and many other attacks are all recognized attack vectors now. I'll save you a little bit of reading, and I'll cheat, and I'll try to categorize these by the 4 main types of AI risk that we are seeing that are unique to AI. The first one is data. As Omar was quite rightly pointing out, it's really, really hard to train AI on fake data. It doesn't work. The models don't respond well to that. You need to get real data. which poses a challenge because you're using real data now in obviously a very sensitive manner. And often it's been uploaded to Amazon S3 buckets, it's being deployed on-premise, sometimes into cloud services, where the data privacy, the data controls are not necessarily as tight as they have been before. But we have a fundamental issue with AI in terms of LLM, is that the data and the prompt are mixed. The core information and the instructions on how to use it are combined. And so, taking Omar's example, if you don't mind, if the data that is ingested by that system has not been verified carefully beforehand, then prompt injection could take place quite easily there. You could say, approve this transaction, even though it would be invalid and completely fraudulent. And there'd be no way of knowing or catching it at the time, because the AI system would interpret that as a valid instruction and proceed accordingly. But we also have problems, I guess, on an operational side. And this is where a lot of the, I guess, good practice that we've evolved over the years and the decades in what we call SecDevOps, the security development operations side, isn't present. A lot of the key people now coding AI systems are doing it without any formal security training. And so you have script kiddies, perhaps, if you want, who are testing it out at home, learning a little bit about Python and AI, coming into work and starting to code some mission-critical AI systems, which is great, but if not secured, can pose some risks. And of course, we have seen the horror stories of late, whether it's crawlbot, molebot, or OpenCrawl, of agentic tools, MCP servers, and similar, being poorly controlled and being able to do more than anybody expected them to, and often leading to data exfiltration and egress. Frankly, what we're dealing with here also is completely new when you actually start looking at the models themselves. By their very nature, they're non-deterministic, so they're unpredictable. We cannot prove they'll always give you the correct answer. And they fall over in unpredictable ways as well. One of the most interesting ones is that if you find an interesting model is that you can actually start probing it and ask it for the prompts that it's using, for the data that it has, for the secrets that it has access to. And often it will surrender them quite happily because it's trying to make you happy and to do the right thing. Only in this case, it's the wrong thing. And finally, of course, the context, the model context, is ever evolving as the conversation grows. So when it comes to penetration testing, pen testing as we call it in security circles, when you come to an AI system and you're doing pen testing against it, it's not like the traditional pen testing. It's more like socially engineering the AI model. And lastly, this is all new. I don't have all the answers. Nobody does. It's evolving. And the guardrail designs, we're still learning about how to optimize those. There's no such thing as a perfect tool that you can just plug in and just relax and know that it's going to cover all of the different risks. I've explained about the AI pen testing and so forth. But how does this actually apply in the real world? And more importantly, how can you help demonstrate AI security if somebody comes asking those awkward questions? Well, I'll give you some recent examples that come up in commercial queries. So this is part of a third-party risk management or TPRM exercise. You've heard of supply chain management. So this is actually ensuring that your suppliers are doing the right thing. The questions that are coming out now in questionnaires and some web portals in this area are actually quite nasty and insidious. This one is on whether your organization is conducting regular regulatory compliance and security risk assessments on your AI specifically. It's also asking specifically around the compliance against the EU AI Act, which Emma mentioned earlier, and the OWASP Top 10 for LLMs that I mentioned earlier too. One of the challenges that we see here is that most organizations don't have the documented evidence needed to prove that they can comply with this. And if you think that was a nasty question, this one is even worse. The client data that you're using for testing your models and building your models, have you actually told the client that you're using their data for building these models? This actually harps back to the EU AI Act, which requires transparency in these use cases. We don't have to comply with the EU AI Act here in the UK yet, but we are developing our own UK AI Act, which is coming soon, and will probably have similar transparency requirements as well. But nonetheless, even though that technically we don't have to comply with this question is already appearing in commercial queries. And the reason why these questions are being asked is that if something goes wrong, people don't ask why it went wrong. They ask, what were you doing leading up to that? Were you actually able to identify the risks, try to treat the risks and manage the risks? Have you documented that process? Have you got evidence that you have been looking into these problems before this occurred? Because the outcome, whether it's a fine or other penalty, will depend very much on your answers to those questions. Not what happened, but how it led up to that happening. So the takeaway, I hope, for yourselves is that this isn't about some magic technology that will solve all the risks. There is no technology that will be able to do that. Some risks simply cannot be solved technically. Controls and governance combined manage what technology alone cannot fix. And this is not about perfect security. First of all, there's no such thing, and there's even less of that when it comes to AI. But it is about demonstrable, proportionate response. So 5 questions for you to ask within your own organization, and that will help you if you go through that process. And it may be for other teams within your organization, it may be for the legal counsel, maybe for your supplier, vendor management team, or similar. Or more likely than not, it will be for your IT team and your InfoSec team in particular. The first is, okay, which AI tools are we actually using? And I don't just mean the LLMs, are you using ChatGPT or Claude? I also mean which tools actually now have AI embedded within them, because it's a surprisingly large number. What data goes into these systems, and does that AI have access to? What does the organization deem acceptable or not in terms of AI usage? Now, this means policies usually, documents that nobody ever reads. We can all laugh about that. But the reality is that you need to be able to document what your feelings and expectations are around AI usage. It could be as simple as an acceptable use policy. It could be more complicated and talking about ethical AI, depending on your circumstances, the scope, and how you're using AI. How you yourself are assessing your AI suppliers. So going back to that TPRM, the third-party risk management, because ultimately it may be their system, but it's your data. So you have a duty of care to ensure that your data is properly protected. And finally, but by no means least, as auditors often say, if it isn't written down, it doesn't exist. Evidence, hard documented evidence. They're looking for not just a one-off, but they're looking for a regular routine. How are your decisions being made? How are you documenting them? How are you reviewing them? How are you checking they're still valid? That continuous assessment that you perform internally, whether through an internal audit or something looser, is the great source or a great source of some of your evidence. of your decision making and therefore your governance. Technical controls and technical evidence also helps as well. But the good news is that governance isn't just paperwork. It'd be great if it were that straightforward. It's also about understanding why AI projects sometimes fail. And one of the common reasons there is, unfortunately, that it is a digital transformation project. McKinsey & Co. have said that it's 70% of digital transformation programs that fail. You will hear often quoted that Gartner says it's 80% failure rate of these larger projects. In terms of AI, it's also interesting to note that Gartner thinks that failure rate in terms of reaching its final objectives is even higher, 85%. So that small sliver over here are the ones that work. One of the main reasons for that is down to people and culture. If you can get that right, you can transform the success rate. This isn't new. This has happened many times before, and the example I typically use here is what happened at Barclays Bank. Back in 2011, 2012, they decided that they would create mobile banking. But for them, this was also an opportunity to deliver pop-up banking. You would have a little booth, not dissimilar to this. It would pop up at your nearest shopping mall, like the Grafton Centre, well, maybe not, but the Grand Arcade, and they would stand there with the tablets and be able to actually say, oh, are you a Barclays customer? Are you going shopping today? Would you like to see how much money you've got? Oh, would you like to borrow some to go and buy something really expensive in the Apple store? Or whatever. And they'll be able to do that transaction there and then. They would also be able to walk up to people in the queues, in the branches, and actually help them with some of the inquiries that they had before they even got to the teller. So they bought tens of thousands of blue iPads, which they distributed to all the branches. Do you know what happened next? Anybody know? It failed. It absolutely spectacularly failed. They just sat in the desk drawers. Nobody was using them. Because Sue, who had been at the branch for 25 years, possibly the best one at selling new mortgages and doing loans and so forth, Sue had never used an iPad before. She was scared of the iPad. That iPad was going to replace her, she thought. That iPad, I don't know, if she pressed the wrong button, it might destroy all of the data and she'd be in a lot of trouble. So she left it in the desk drawer and never touched it. They turned this around by creating Digital Eagles. Digital Eagles was a fantastic program where they actually went out and found interested power users in every branch and slowly but surely educated and trained them. And they became the local support team for that branch. So perhaps they picked on Sam and said, Sam, join, we'll train you and bring you up to speed on how to get the most out of this. And now when Sue had a problem, she didn't phone IT because she never liked phoning IT in the first place. She could say, hey, Sam, I don't know how to do this. And Sam would say, oh, that's no problem, I'll show you. And taught her. And it became a massive success. To learn more about that and how that, I think, would work just as well in AI projects, I've written a blog post which you're welcome to have a look at. I hope it helps. And I would like to give you a competitive advantage here. How many of you know that story about the two intrepid explorers who go into deepest, darkest Africa? They're in the middle of the jungle and suddenly they spot the lion. And they both look at each other, frozen in shock. One of them throws his rucksack down on the floor, starts rummaging around, takes out a pair of sneakers, takes off his hiking boots, puts on his running shoes. And the other guy's looking at him and saying, you idiot, you can't outrun a lion. He says, no, but I can outrun you. And so you, in your own organization, cannot outrun a lion. I get that. But you can be better than your competitors. And this is crucial in the business sense, because if you can accept that perfect security does not exist, and certainly not in AI, you can demonstrate that you're taking this seriously, that you're prepared, and you have documentation to support, evidence to support your preparation in this. That gives you a competitive advantage when responding to customer tenders. That gives you a competitive advantage when existing customers start sending around TPRM questionnaires. And then you don't get eaten by the line. Thank you. And I guess it's traditional at this point to ask any questions.
One question is there, maybe not relative or there are some applications, AI applications, we are using this to, just I mentioned here, for personal use, so like vibe coding. And after vibe coding, we have developed something for ourselves, which help us. So is that vibe code applications are safe or not safe?
Good question. May I answer that by trying to find my... there we go. I'm not going to show you that. But go on then. I wasn't going to talk about AI security, but as you prompted that, I'll take this opportunity to say no. And there are many different examples in which AI security perhaps is really lagging behind the rate of change, the pace of change. AI velocity is a thing. And one of the challenges that we have here is that the security has been left behind. You know, this massive train is barreling down the track at tremendous speeds, but the security team are still on the platform looking at it disappearing into the distance. Catching up with that, or even trying to get the AI project to stop to allow them to catch up with that, is near now impossible. For those of you who've been using LangChain, if you're not familiar with LangGrinch, please update it and get it fixed now. There's some rather horrid vulnerabilities emerging there and in some other tools. If you're using the Anthropic MCP server for Git on a shared system, please make sure that you get that updated, because these would allow any user on that shared system to completely access anything on your file system, overwrite files, destroy files, and similar. These are not random examples. These are actually real live use cases that are causing a few headaches. And when it comes to the personal use, how many people have been playing around with Moltbot or OpenClaw now? No? If you do...
Shouldn't that number be going up all the time?
Yeah. Well, if you do, just be aware that not only has it got many vulnerabilities in it when it comes out the box, but even if you lock it down, even if you run it in a virtual container, even if you do all the right things to try to secure it, a couple of days ago, a researcher has posted that they still found 148 ways to break it.
How accurate do you think is this information?
So how
accurate is this?
What, the 148?
Yeah, how trustable, I would say.
Very. The gentleman who did it actually runs a company that does AI behavior verification as a living.
What I meant is the precision, like the total number of potential vulnerabilities that he couldn't detect yet.
Oh, well, we don't know how many have not been detected as yet. Yeah. But what he does, he creates effectively a vulnerability checker against every known vulnerability type and automates that. And yeah, his blog post on this is that QR code down at the bottom.
Jason, so first of all, thank you for this overview on AI security. I've learned a lot today. It's not a topic I'm familiar with. So I think I understand the risk, right? I think it's pretty clear why. But I want to, maybe you can touch on the solution. And QA security might be part of it, and I get that. Is it just an audit, or is there is there a product behind it? What is it exactly that companies are doing to secure all
Fair
the
enough.
risk the risk that you just mentioned here?
I should have perhaps explained that a little bit better. I'm not here to sell anything, but thank you for the question, Japisha. I appreciate that. If anybody would like to buy services, we offer a range of services around this, everything from gap analysis to ongoing governance assistance. So that can be if you like, a virtual AI security officer to help organizations, large organizations, manage their risks. It could be an internal auditor to make sure that the evidence is collected and documented properly for audit purposes. We can also do ISO 42001 assessments and get organizations ready for that compliance. But what we can also do, we do partner with the company I mentioned at the end. We can provide continuous verification that the AI models are behaving as they should. Because one of the challenges is, I talked about AI velocity before, but I mean, how often are the models changing? How often are you changing which supplier you use and which tool you use? It's happening almost daily, certainly a couple of times a week, right? So the idea of doing an annual pen test is just laughable in the AI world. You can certainly do that, but the reality is that you need almost ongoing verification, certainly on a week-by-week or month-by-month basis, to ensure that if you do change something and it causes a security issue, you find out about it before it becomes a headline. And those are the kinds of services that we provide. But in summary, if you can answer these 5 questions, there's no magic behind this. This is what you need to be able to answer. If you can do that internally yourselves, go for it. Sorry, I wish there was a secret sauce I could offer here. It's just hard work, elbow grease, and delivering against that. But ultimately, it's a way of thinking about the problem and how you demonstrate that you are aware of it, you're treating it seriously, and that you have a plan of action for addressing it.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, another question?
Still have time, yeah. Yeah.
What's your opinion on using AI to improve AI security?
Brilliant. Absolutely. If you're not using AI to improve AI security already, please give it a go. Claude is quite good, actually. You can ask it if you've written some code with Claude or by yourself, perform a security review. And it will go through whatever you've done, whether it's a website, as I've been playing with, or whether it's another program or part of a big complex system. And it will actually give you some very, very insightful ideas around how to improve the security. And being Claude, if you ask it to then do it, it will go ahead and do some of that for you too. Not necessarily all of it, and a human element is still involved in checking the outputs and thinking about the edge cases, but it's better than you'd imagine. But you've got to remember to ask it, or you build it into your CI/CD. Yeah, but you don't even have to buy them. All that you do is you make it part of your CI/CD workflow. You get GitHub Action to do that for you as part and parcel of that, or you do it at pre-commit stage. For example, for the website, I got Claude to do a spell check, a grammar check, and a security check before it actually commits.
What kind of security check would that be?
Using Claude.
Like, what would be checking specifically?
It depends obviously on the context and whatever context you give it. But in this case, it's a website. It's just making sure that I haven't done anything silly like CSP checks and similar, the usual ones that go horribly wrong. You forget to include a nonce with a script and then it all goes horribly wrong. But you can avoid a lot of that, again, just by automating some of those checks. Anyway. Sorry, I've had some great questions this evening. You've been a fantastic audience. Thank you so much.